Welcome back. This is Mr. Cisneros. In our previous video, we opened up our IDW and we dimensioned our front panel. I am realizing now that I forgot one dimension. So I'm going to go to my Annotate tab and I'm going to go to Dimension. The one thing that we forgot to do was we forgot to locate this smaller hole. You can see that the diameter is 0.75. We forgot to locate it. It's going to be right in the center, so our total width is going to be 14 here. So from here to here, or from here to here, is going to be 7 inches. So we have to make sure that we share that information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and click on this line and then click on the center of this hole, and I'm going to bring that dimension up. Remember, one of the rules to dimensioning is that we want these smaller dimensions like 7, and for this location 3.5, we want that inside of our larger dimension. So you can see 14 is a larger dimension. We want these located inside, not outside. So for instance, we wouldn't want to drag this out this way, because then we have this this intersection of our dimensions, and it just doesn't look as clean. It doesn't look as nice. So just a simple rule to dimensioning is have those dimensions, those smaller dimensions, inside. We also have to locate the height of this. So we can do that a couple of different ways. We could say I'm going to click on Dimension. From here to here, that dimension is 1. So if we do include something like that, that is fine. But we can see that these dimensions right here are a little too close, so I might need to modify this radius one, the location of it. Let's see if we can click on this bubble. Yeah, there we go. So we can just drag that out a little bit more. And now we have our location for that hole. We can see that it's 7 inches from here to here, and then we can see from this center point to the top line is 1 inch. What we could also do is we could have that dimension be from down here to here. Let's see what that looks like. Let's see if we prefer that one. So from here to the center, and we can see that that is a larger dimension, so we would have to go and have it outside of that 3.5. And I think, I think that works as well. I think that's fine. I think either one would work. I'm just going to close this one up a little bit closer, this one out a little bit closer. I'll leave it like this, and I'll let you decide if you want to, if you want to keep that 1 inch marker, that dimension from here up to the top line, you could do that as well. But honestly, either of these work. This is a bit messy as far as like how many dimensions are on this front panel. But when we have our front view being the most detailed, we have a lot of things like holes that we need to locate and dimension. That's going to happen with your front view. That's going to happen with your front view. So if you ever feel like that and say you want to maybe move this 14 up to the top view, you definitely could. You definitely could. But typically, by rule, you'll have the most dimensions on your front panel simply because it's the one that has the most detail. All right, let's move on to the other sheets. And before I do, I did notice when I opened up my IDW, I got an error message about the assembly. For some reason, my sheet 7 continues to have this exclamation point here. And it has, I think, something to do with the parts list. So I'm thinking that maybe I should have, instead of referencing the assembly, I should have referenced the presentation. Because if we go and click on sheet 7, remember our exploded view is located on there with our parts list. Might take a second to load up for us. There it is. So because I have my presentation file here, the parts list isn't really playing nice with this because I'm continuing to reference the assembly, not the presentation. Let's see what happens if I double click this. It's going to ask that same error. It's going to say the BOM view is disabled in the reference assembly. This BOM view must be enabled to proceed. Do you wish to enable it? Just a simple OK is going to fix that issue. Click OK here, and that exclamation point goes away. I think that might continue. I think what we should have done is we should have created a parts list that is connected to this presentation instead of the assembly. So we'll just leave it like this for now, but maybe in the future videos, future projects, we'll make sure to use the presentation file with our parts list. All right, I'm going to minimize this for now, and I'm going to go back to sheet 4. So sheet 4 does not have any dimensions. Maybe you gave this a try after watching the previous video where we dimensioned the front panel. This one's going to be a lot simpler. We're going to use the dimension tool like we always do, but this one really doesn't need that many dimensions. It's just a rectangle. So if I have my width, if I have my height, and if I have my depth, remember it's tricky if you get that bubble. I have to zoom in a little bit more. But if you have that height, or that thickness, I should say, not height, that thickness, then you're done. You're done, and you honestly don't even need this right side view. If you put in your your front, top, right side views, you're never wrong. But if you look at something like this where it's super simple, you can ask yourself, is this view really necessary? If I just gave the person who's building this the front and the top view, are they still able to build this board? Are they still able to cut this down to size? And the answer is yes. Without this, they're still able to. So you could get away with something this simple, where it's just a rectangle. You could get away with just 2 views. You could get away with just 1 view, and all you would need to do is, like, say we got rid of this top and this right side. All you'd need to do would be to, add the dimensions for width and height, and then maybe a little note that says thickness 0.5, and that's all you would need. So with something simple like this, doesn't always need to be the front, top, right side views on there. You're never wrong if you do that. It's just sometimes a little redundant or a little unnecessary. All right, and we'll see that with the rest of the way. So let's go to sheet 5 now. I have dimension selected still. So if you ever get dimension selected and you're not able to click on any of these sheets, a couple of things you could do. You could hit escape on the keyboard to get out of the dimension tool. You could also right click and then click OK or escape, and it'll get you out of that tool. So now I can go and double click sheet 5, no problem. And here's kind of the same thing. I'm going to go to dimension, and I'm going to click on here, click on this line, click, and then thickness over here. And I'm going to leave these views because we did this already, but just for future reference, if you have a simple design similar to this, you might not need all the views. If you're able to provide the required dimensions on just 1 or 2 views, that's all you need. That's all you need. All right, let's go to sheet 6. Again, I'm stuck in the dimension tool, so I can hit escape, or I can go right click, OK. Now I can go into sheet 6, and same thing, dimension. I need my width, I need my height, and I need my thickness. And there we go. We're done with that one. Right click, OK, and then I'm going to go to sheet 7. Sheet 7 is what we already did. We don't need to do any more on here. Now what we can do is save. I always forget to tell you to save in these videos, so I'm not going to forget this time. Since this is something we've opened, right? This is something that we've saved previously. We already have the name initials _ speaker box. So at this point, if you make any additions, just hit save. File, save, right there. That's it. Or, there's a little shortcut here. This floppy disk, that is also the save button. So you can always just go up there and hit save in case you're worried you're going to lose your work or anything like that. All right. What I would do if I were you, just double check. Make sure that every sheet has what is required, especially with the title block. Make sure that you've filled out the information that you've needed to in the title block. If you forgot how to do that, see if you can watch the title block video that I have on this playlist. All right, so just double click every sheet, make sure you have everything filled out, And it looks like we do. All right. In the next video, I will show you how to put this into a PDF, create a PDF file so that we can turn this in. We'll see you in the next video.